The 2022 NFL offseason for the NFL is only a week and a half old. And for some, it feels like an eternity. It really does feel like an eternity until September. And for others, well, if you're watching other shit, then, you have some things to pass you by. But, yeah, the offseason is kind of like a different animal of itself. You have free agency, the draft, then you have, after that, it's a bunch of nothing until the preseason. And then you have the regular season all the way until September. So, obviously, there's still a lot of things to figure out. They're still very early into the offseason. I mean, still, the focal point, the talking points for each and every team and each and every one of its fans for those respective teams are clearly, who are the new players going to be? Who's going to be signed? Who's going to be re-signed for those players that are going to be free agents? Who's going to leave in free agency? Are there going to be any big trades during the offseason? Or what's going to happen in the draft? All those big things in the offseason, which kind of, it's like a sequel to the NFL season itself, you could per se. When it comes to my San Francisco 49ers, when it comes to their current offseason, which honestly started the moment they lost the NFC Championship game a couple weeks ago to the LA Rams in a very close game, which, they had a chance to win, but, they came up short. They were just a quarterback away and a corner away from returning to the Super Bowl. But I digress. These things happen. These losses happen. But yeah, their offseason has already been underway, and the biggest focal point, the biggest talking point, the biggest priority should be, trading Jimmy Garoppolo. Moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo because, you have a second-year quarterback, soon-to-be second-year quarterback in North Dakota State QB, Trey Lance, who is primed to start in this coming September. Or at least he should be. At least he should be, right? Which is my main point of this video. So, obviously, the big focal point is Jimmy G, clearly, specifically, thinking in his exit interview, thinking that his time is over in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch think the same way. So, they're looking for a trade partner. And it's the Trey Lance show in 2022. Again, it should be right. But then, over the last week and a half, these smoke screens, I guess, or these rumors, these speculations from some members of the media, not all of them, not much from the local media here in the Bay Area, but around the national media. Let's say that some in the national media have, I guess they're trying to get some attention. They're trying to make some create some speculation to say that Trey Lance is not ready. Trey Lance is not ready to start in 2022. And they're saying that he's the most greener than most people think. And I just find that to be, let me backtrack a little bit. Of course, Trey Lance, to some degree, is green. He's only started, less than 20 games in college. Before he entered the NFL draft, he only played one game before his season got shut down. His entire college football season, his team got shut down because of COVID-19. And then since then, he's only played, 2.5 games? And I say 2.5 because, he had to come in relief of Jimmy Garoppolo during that Week 4 game against the Seahawks. And then he played. He started his first game against Arizona, which, to be honest with you, was a limited playbook for Trey Lance, a limited call sheet for him, limited plays for him, and the offensive line failed him. And then the Houston Texans game in Week 17, where they tried to pull that shit again on Trey Lance, but then it wasn't working against the crappy Texans. But I digress. So they're trying to say that Trey Lance is not ready based on his very limited playing experience, his lack of, I guess they're also saying the lack of competition in when he was in North Dakota State, and then the fact that he couldn't even beat out Jimmy Garoppolo in the preseason because of his thumb injury, as well as the ankle injury he suffered. I think it was in the Arizona game in Week 5. And I gotta be honest with you, it kind of makes me a little peeved. It makes me a little peeved to hear that. And this is not me trying to ride the dick of Trey Lance or to defend him like a white knight or anything, but it's just kind of peeves me a little bit because, like, how do we know? Like, how do we really know if whether or not Trey Lance is ready? Like, the only people that really know that Trey Lance is ready is Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Yes, that's who we know that. That's the only people that know that whether or not Trey Lance is ready to start. Like, not these media members and not even me. I don't even know if Trey Lance is ready, but what we can be assured of is that the only way to find out is by seeing him on the field Week 1 when the regular season kicks off in 2022. The answer to the question of is Trey Lance ready is not by bringing in another quarterback. These media members that have been like trying to rile up the rumor mill of Trey Lance not being ready have also brought up the notion of the Niners potentially inquiring about Aaron Rodgers in a trade or the rights to Tom Brady, who just retired. Tom Brady, yeah, the quarterback who grew up in San Mateo, who idolized Joe Montana, who always wanted to play for the 49ers. I mean, let me get this Tom Brady stuff out of the way first. Tom Brady, like, the Niners had their chance with Tom Brady in 2020 when he was a free agent. He was literally sitting right there, unrestricted. The Niners had a chance to get him. They had a chance to get him for like what could have been a rebound year after they lost the Super Bowl to Kansas City and to Patrick Mahomes. But instead, what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch did was stick to their guns. Stick to the garbage fail that was Jimmy Garoppolo. And look where it got to them. I mean, sure, we got Trey Lance, but then, again, you still have questions about him, but the only real way you'll find out is by starting him. So you had your chance with Tom Brady. You didn't get it, Tom Brady. So, in short, you don't get him now for what essentially will be a one-year rental. I mean, sure, Tom Brady still really hasn't made up his mind about retirement, even though he technically officially announced his retirement. But, you know, Brady, sure, he may change his mind, but do we really want a short-term Super Bowl championship, like just like the Rams, like really a one-off championship? So Tom Brady can have like, oh, I want a championship with my hometown team, and then that's just going to create even more questions for whether or not Trey Lance is ready throughout 2022. It's going to just create this cycle until Trey Lance actually gets onto the field. And sure, there have been instances where quarterbacks don't start right away, like after the first year. I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers. He had to wait 3 years for Brett Favre, but everyone's cases are different. I mean, look at Patrick Mahomes. He, after Alex Smith started most of the year, except for that, obviously, that Week 17 game in Denver where Kansas City already had the division locked up. But either way, when Kansas City traded away Alex Smith to the Washington football team or the Commanders, whatever, it was a clear indication that Patrick Mahomes, whatever the Andy Reid and the Chiefs were seeing in practice, he was ready to go. And whenever Jimmy Garoppolo gets traded from the 49ers to whatever team he's going to next, it's an indication that Trey Lance is ready to go. And from what Shanahan and Lynch were saying at the end of their exit interviews, what players are saying about Trey Lance right now, including George Kittle, it seems like Trey Lance is progressing well. And who knows how Trey Lance will progress. He may already be practicing. Doing drills as we speak. Even though like OTA off-season team activities don't start till like what, April. So either way, overall, I think this talk of Trey Lance not being ready, it's ridiculous. I mean, not like completely ridiculous. I mean, sure, they have a little bit of validity considering that, again, Trey Lance only started not that many games in college and he didn't face like quality competition. But again, he's only had a very small sample of starting in the NFL, and he hasn't had that much in-game experience. But how are we gonna answer that question of Trey Lance not being ready if he doesn't actually go on the field and get that valuable in-game experience, that starters reps on the field? How are we gonna find that out? Until he starts in week 1, until he actually gets onto the field, play with the starters, play with Kittle, play with Deebo Samuel, play with Brandon Ayuk in week 1 and whoever they face, we're not going to know the answer. Like getting Tom Brady for like a 1-year rental or an Aaron Rodgers for like a 1 or 2 year rental, and then like preventing like the Niners from getting like resources that we actually need to address, like corner, the offensive line, another edge rusher opposite Nick Bosa. Like we have to address other needs besides a quarterback that, well, we already have on the roster. That's probably not likely, but probably ready to go to start in the coming fall. So overall, I just think this talk of Trey Lance, again, of not being ready by some members of the national media, I think it's ridiculous. Again, not ridiculous completely, but it's just really ridiculous. And until we find out, until we actually see Trey Lance start the game for week 1 and then a couple weeks into the season, we won't know the answer to that question of, is Trey Lance ready? We won't know the answer. We'll just have to wait until September. Anyway, this was a quick video. I am DylanLasagna, host of Very Cold Lasagna, and until next time, peace out.